The court now is in session. We're going to continue hearing the testimony of witness Mom Nai. According to the proceedings as of yesterday, we already finished putting questions by the judges of the bench. So next, the parties will be given the floor. Before that, the greffiers are advised to report the attendance of the parties to the proceedings today. The greffier, Mr. President, the parties to the proceedings today are all present. Witness Mom Nai is here in the courtroom. Witness KW09, who will be testifying after this witness, is also available at 10 a.m. The witness has already taken an oath, and the witness has no relationship to anyone here in the court. Next, the chamber would like to give the floor to the co-prosecutors to put questions to the witness. Please be informed that the prosecutors have 1 hour or 60 minutes to put questions. The floor is yours. Prosecutor, thank you, Mr. President, Your Honors. Good morning, Mr. Mom Nai. First, before the prosecutor puts question to you, I am, on behalf of the prosecutors, would like to remind Mr. Mom Nai that, as the President has already reminded you when you arrived here to give your testimony about internal rule 28 concerning the self-incrimination. The prosecutors, however, would like to encourage the witness, Mr. Mom Nai, who are present today, to give your full testimony of your accounts you have heard, you witnessed, although those accounts would be linked to your self-incrimination. If you look at the ECCC law, then there are only 2 kinds of people who would be prosecuted at the court: the most senior people, Khmer Rouge leaders, and also the most responsible people of the Khmer Rouge regime. And regarding the witnesses, if we talk about the time, it has been already more than 30 years since the crimes were committed, and the statute of limitation has already lapsed, and those people who are not included in the 2 groups of people are not going to be prosecuted. Can the AV unit be advised to put on the map of S21 on display, please? The President, the AV unit is advised to put their document on display, please. Prosecutor, Mr. Momnai, this is an aerial photograph of the S21 Tuol Slang compound. You can see there are buildings with letters A, B, C, D, and E, and I think you can read French. Can you tell me whether this is the location of the former prison that you are familiar with? And can you tell the court in which section of this compound you once worked in? Mom Nai. I think this is the compound of Tuol Slang prison, and my interrogation house, the house I worked as interrogator, was to the east of the compound, next to the sewage canal. Co-prosecutor, thank you. Among the 5 buildings of Tuol Slang Museum, which building did you carry out the interrogation in? The President, Mr. Momnai, could you please be reminded again that only when you see the red light is on the mic that you can start responding, otherwise your message cannot be communicated, and that your voice cannot be also recorded in the transcript itself. And the national prosecutor is also advised to make sure that the mic is on before he speaks, although you have reminded the witness, but please yourself be reminded too. Prosecutor, Mr. Momnai, could you please respond? Mr. Momnai, I went into the building once to meet my student who was arrested. I sought permission from Deutsch, and I did not know which building I was in. I went to actually building C, and there was a vacant room in which my student was brought in to meet me, and I asked him about his well-being. After that, I left. Prosecutor, thank you. We would like to seek your permission to put ERN 0015 35 73 be put on display, please. The President, the AV unit, could you please put this document on display? Prosecutor, Mr. Momnai, if you look at this sketch drawn by Kang Kek Eo alias Deutsch, you can see letter B here is indicating the S21 location, and you see number 2, which refer to the houses for detention. And here you can see number 3, which would be the houses for also interrogation and questioning. And there were offices labeled as number 5 and other numbers. The President, the lawyer, I notice you are on your feet. We are afraid that the lawyer's mic is not activated. Mr. Kung Som-on, I would like to emphasize again that the letters written in this sketch is not very clear, so I think the witness may not be able to read or identify those numbers. The prosecutor, with the President's permission, I would like to give the hard copy of the document to Mr. Mom Nai so that he can better read it. Prosecutor, do you remember these locations? Because number 4, 5, 6 here refer to the houses. And could you please indicate any particular location in this sketch so that you can tell us where would be the house you interrogated people? Mom Nai, I don't think I understand this sketch. If there is a sewer canal, then I would be able to tell where the interrogation house would locate, because the house was located next to that sewage canal. Prosecutor, thank you. Since you cannot really tell us yet, I would like to proceed with other questions instead. With the President leave, I would like ERN 00181427 be displayed, please. The President, the AV unit is instructed to put this document up on display. Prosecutor, Mr. Momnai, have you seen this photo or are you able to read or to see people in the picture? Through your recollection, can you point to the photo of yourself in this photo? Mom, I don't think I see this photo very clear, but I can see that the person behind the woman who is carrying a baby could be me, and the woman could be my wife. Prosecutor, could you please describe something about these people? Do you know the names of the people in the photo from left to right? I don't remember that woman's name. This man maybe was Mon, and then this woman was the wife of Dodge, and I think her name was Rom, and here he is Dodge, and then another woman on the far right, and the man behind her. I think I don't remember their names. That's all. Prosecutor, do you remember where the photo was taken? Mom, I don't know. I can't recollect where the photo was taken. Prosecutor, thank you. With the chamber's leave, I would like document 00005254 be put on display, please. The President, the AV unit is advised to display this photo. Prosecutor, have you seen this photo? Do you know anyone here in the photo? From left to right, can you describe them, please? With Mr. President's leave, could the court official take this hard copy of the photo to Mom Nai? Mom Nai, having looked at this photo, I don't think I remember who is who. Prosecutor, thank you. Anyway, I would like to proceed further to the next question. When Mr. Kang Kek-il was the chairman of S21, was you scared of him? Mom Nai, after he told me that an enemy implicated me in his confession and he stopped me from being an interrogator, I was scared. Whenever he ordered me to go out of S21 on my duty, I was afraid that he would trick me to go out to be arrested, and only when the Vietnamese troop came that my fear faded. Prosecutor, thank you. Next question regarding the confession of former professor named Ton. With the President's leave, I would like document 00188839 be put on display, please. The President AV unit is advised to put this document up on the screen. Mr. Momnai, are you familiar with the writing on this piece of paper? Is that yours? Momnai, having looked at the writing, I think it is more similar to that of mine. But I cannot remember whether I interrogated Mr. Pheng Ton or not. But this writing is quite similar to my writing. Prosecutor, if it is similar to your writing, can you recollect whether you once interrogated this detainee? Momnai, I cannot think of it. But the writing is mine. Prosecutor, thank you. Next question. Could the chamber please advise the AV unit to put another piece of document on display? The interpreter cannot really get the ERN number. Could the President please advise the prosecutor to repeat? លោកជាគំប្រធានសូមលោកជួយឲ្យលោកសាភិញ្ញាលោកអាន ERN number ឡើងវិញតិចទៀតព្រោះអ្នកបកប្រែបកមិនទាន់លេខ ERN the ERN number the ERN number is 2265 Prosecutor, my apology. Actually, we had some problem with the ERN number. Prosecutor, with Mr. President Liu, could this document please be distributed to the witness?
ta lúc ai sầm call ban tí
Prosecutor Mr. Mom Nai, do you recognize this piece of writing in which you stated you made a request to release the detainee? This document was shown yesterday with request of Judge Levenge. But the prosecutor cannot really put the last page on display regarding the person Chiu Sun Heng.
La dernière page à l'écran, c'est un document qui concerne M. Chung Hang.
The prosecutor, can you recall it? Mom Nai, the document I obtained here is of course the document written by me and with the annotation release, request for release. Prosecutor, did you or was that detainee released upon your request? Mom Nai, I don't know. I was assigned to write down that the person would be released, but whether he was released or not, I don't know. Prosecutor, thank you.
On ERN 000268082 on the prisoner 1 Pini on page 000262177. The prosecutor, can you see the documents displayed clearly on the screen? And can you confirm whether the writing on this document is your handwriting? Mom Nai, this is my handwriting, Mr. Co-Prosecutor. Thank you, says the co-prosecutor. My next question on Green Lien, alias Som, on ERN 000811842. The President, I notice the presence of the Defense Counsel. You take the floor.
Mr. President, I am quite happy for the witness to be shown Khmer documents. I'm afraid I don't speak Khmer myself. I would like to know at least what the documents are about. The last document that has just been shown has no translation. At least we have not been provided with one. So I'm sorry, we have no idea what it is. So I would like at least that we be told what it is about.
the President, the co-prosecutor, the Chamber has noted 2 points. One, regarding the presentation of such document, you should provide a hard copy to the witness so that he can read it clearly. This is also concerning his age. It's better for him to read the hard copy rather than to read it on the screen. Also, the second point, you should mention the content of such document, which is the basis for your questioning, so that each party can also understand, and it is also for the record of the transcript. Thank you, Mr. President, says the co-prosecutor. We would like to present through these documents that Mr. Momnai, during that time, he interrogated several prisoners, and this is in order to remind him to note on his handwriting for those confessions. And what the co-prosecutor wants is for him to acknowledge his writing of the confessions during his interrogation. The President, I understand that is the intention of the co-prosecutors, but other parties do not understand what you want to get from the presentation of these documents. It is your own understanding, what you have just said, but the rest does not understand. Co-prosecutor, thank you, Mr. President. What has shown by the co-prosecutor are those documents with the handwriting or annotation of Momnai alias Chan on those confessions. And sometimes some documents are the handwriting written by Mr. Momnai himself during the interrogations. And these are the points that the co-prosecutor would like to get through. My next question is, regarding the interrogation of the European prisoners, I do not mean the Vietnamese prisoners. The confession of James William Clark, EAN 00006979. Co-prosecutor, I would like to get your confirmation whether you interrogated a foreigner, this person, James William Clark. Can you read it on the screen? Momnai.
ខ្ញុំសូមមិននិយាយ
Momnai, I would like to remain silent.
អរគុណលោក Momnai.
Thank you, Mr. Momnai. I would like now to give the floor to my colleague to put questions to the witness. The President, the International Co-Prosecutor, you take the floor.
Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honours, Council, and Mr. Mamnai. Mr. Mamnai, I would like to now talk to you not about the types of people that you interrogated, but more about the numbers of people that you interrogated. Yesterday you said in court that you interrogated between, it was hard to think, but you thought between 10 and 20 Vietnamese combatants. In your interview with the co-investigative judges last year at D22-0016-2917, you said you interviewed, you felt less than 50 Vietnamese combatants. So on the one hand, yesterday we have you saying 10, and then last year less than 50. Bearing in mind you have been spoken to by the Chamber and reminded of your obligation to tell the truth in this case, I would like to ask you some questions that allows you to re-evaluate more, to think back about the numbers of people you in fact did interrogate at S21. In a way, I would like that you start afresh on this matter. Is it fair to say that in relation to the Vietnamese, and at the moment I'm talking about the Vietnamese combatants, that you were the sole interrogator at S21 of the Vietnamese because of your language skills?
Momnai. From what I can recall, yesterday I said the number was between 20 to 30 persons. It's not 10 persons like you just stated. When I was interviewed by the investigators, I said the number was less than 50. And when I said the number was between 20 to 30, that was correct because it was less than 50.
Thank you. My last question was, do you agree that you were the sole interrogator, the only interrogator of Vietnamese at S21?
Momnai. At S21, I was the Vietnamese interrogator, and I was assisted in interpreting by Comrade Chan from Hanoi.
And you were also assisted by a Chia Seng. Is that correct?
Momnai. Can you please repeat the name? I cannot catch it.
The name is Chia Seng, C-H-E-A, last name S-E-N-G, Chia Seng.
Momnai. I have never heard the name Chia Seng. There was a person named Ming. He interrogated with me once. And Uncle Ho, in his role as the deputy chairman, sometimes he joined in for a few words during my interrogation session and he left.
Thank you. This was mentioned by the accused in his testimony that there were 3 interrogations in relation to the Vietnamese. Brother Mam Nai, he managed overall. Ha Ta Chan, the interrogator from the interpreter from Hanoi, who was detained at S21, and Chao Seng, CHAO, who was close to Brother Mam Nai, and he would just obey you. And that's at 10th of June, page 9 of the transcript. Does that refresh your memory?
I noticed the presence of the defense counsel. You take the floor, says the president.
Mr. Ho, if my learned colleague would be so kind as to give us the reference of the transcripts, because if you say the transcript of the 10th of June, page 9, it's a little vague. Would you be so kind as to provide us with the reference? Thank you.
The reference is the 10th of June, and it's page 9. Does that refresh your memory, Mr. Mam Nai, that Chao Seng assisted you in interrogations? Obey you, and that's at 10th of June, page 9 of the transcript. Does that refresh your memory?
I noticed the presence of the defense counsel. You take the floor, says the president.
Mr. Ho, if my learned colleague would be so kind as to give us the reference of the transcripts, because if you say the transcript of the 10th of June, page 9, it's a little vague. Would you be so kind as to provide us with the reference? Thank you.
The reference is the 10th of June, and it's page 9. Does that refresh your memory, Mr. Mam Nai, that Chao Seng assisted you in interrogations?
Mom Nai, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, I cannot recollect it. If you talk about Chao Seng was my teacher. He was arrested and Comrade Dutch assigned me to interrogate him. That was all. The President, I noticed the presence of the legal counsel for the witness. You take the floor. Through the interpretation, I'm not sure if it's mistaken or not, I heard 2 names, Jia Seng and Chao Seng. I would like the chamber to get it clarified which name is the one of the actual name, Chao Seng or Jia Seng.
Thank you, Your Honour. The name is Chao Seng, CHAO, last name SENG. Perhaps, Mr. Mam Nai, if we move on for a moment, you stated that you were the only interrogator of Vietnamese in relation to the evidence that the trial chamber has heard before them, they have heard that there were 122 detainees on the S21 records that were Vietnamese combatants, and that's at E68.28, the revised prisoner list chart in relation to the Vietnamese. Mr. Mam Nai, there were 122 known combatants at S21. Didn't you interrogate them all?
នៅស21តើលោកសួរចម្លើយអ្នកទាំងអស់នោះទាំងអស់ឬក៏យ៉ាងម៉េច
Mom Nai, I interrogated Vietnamese soldiers in less than 50 of them. I also interrogated the full row group and the Jarai group, and only later on I received instructions from the upper echelons that actually they came to ask for our assistance in fighting back the Vietnamese, and they were later on released. There were a number of them, but I cannot recall the exact number of these groups. And this is my honest response to you.
Thank you. You gave some evidence yesterday about interrogating 1 or 2 Vietnamese spies. I'd like to put the accused statement to you, and this is at the 10th of June, page 10. And he was asked, and when those spies entered S21, did you arrange for their interrogation? This is a question to the accused. And he responded, I would like to confirm that when the spies entered S21, I ordered them to be interrogated by Brother Mam Nai. No other interrogator was allowed to interrogate them because he was trained to be able to speak the Vietnamese language and then be able to interrogate those Vietnamese people. Mr. Mam Nai, do you have any comment about that? About the accuracy of that statement of the accused?
Mom Nai, I would like to remain silent on this matter.
Thank you. And the trial chamber has heard evidence before this court that 144 detainees, and that's E68.29, were spies, recorded as spies in the S21 documentation. Did you interrogate around that number of spies, around 144 spies, whilst at S21?
Mom Nai, I just stated that I would like to remain silent on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Mann. I won't go further with this topic about your interrogation of Vietnamese, and I'd like to move to another topic, and that relates to your knowledge of the organisation of interrogators at S21. And perhaps, if I can put your statement you made yesterday towards Judge Tomini, and you were asked what were the exclusive duties of the different S21 units. You responded you had no knowledge, but you knew of the defence section, interrogation section and rice field section. You further stated regarding the interrogation section, the duty was to interrogate, but you didn't know the details of the organisation. I would like to show you a document on the screen, and we have a hard copy which we can present to you. It's D64 Khmer ERN 0007 9150 to 007 9155 and in the English 0017 8176, and unfortunately I don't believe this is in the French language at this stage. This document is dated the 1st of January 1977, and if I could ask, Your Honour, if the court usher could hand Mr. Mamnai a hard copy of the document. Zach, have you got the... Your Honours, this document is entitled A New Work Plan for Interrogation Branches for a Period of 3 months. It's an S21 document. Mr. Mamnai, that's your handwriting, isn't it?
Mamnai, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, this is my handwriting, and that is correct.
And perhaps if I just summarize the document, it basically is a plan on how often interrogators should meet, the division of the interrogation workload, and the division of responsibilities. If you look at the document, about 2 or 3 paragraphs down in the English, it states you were assigned to grasp hold of new and the remaining prisoners. Meng has a duty to grasp hold of daily documents and report in and out. Do you see that? We have it on the screen as well, if that will help you.
Mamnai, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, yes, I read that document, but I cannot recall what I wrote at the time. I saw my handwriting on the grab hold of the newcomers, and that I myself put my name in the bracket. I cannot recall at the moment.
And if I can just briefly summarize the document, this document divides the interrogators into 11 groups and groups them into 3 larger groups, with Chairman Snowan responsible for 5, 6 and 8. This is at the bottom of the document. A man who was responsible for 7, 9, 10 and 11. And Pon, who was responsible for 1, 2 and 3. And also the document explains how often people should meet. It states that squads had to meet every 3 days, open work experience once a month, party meeting every 2 weeks, livelihood meetings once a month, First 2 weeks spent on studying and making biographies of all interrogators, and once a month training for technical and scientific work. Would you agree with me that, bearing in mind you wrote this document, at the time that you wrote the document at S21, you completely knew the organisation of the interrogation section, and in fact you were one of the main coordinators of the interrogation section, not a person that was isolated in a house interrogating 10 to 20 Vietnamese combatants over a 3-year period. Would you agree with me you were the coordinator with PON of the interrogation unit?
Mr. Co-Prosecutor, I do not agree with you.
Even though you wrote the document explaining how the unit was organised in groups and how often would meet, you still do not agree with me. Is that right?
I disagree because these people were the youth league, and maybe this is the content of the meetings of the youth leagues at the time.
Thank you. And you would agree with me that the title of the document is A New Work Plan for Interrogation Branches for a Period of 3 months. Do you agree that that is the title of the document?
I think the writing of this document is my handwriting. This is my acknowledgement.
Thank you. Mr. Mamnai, yesterday, before you left the court, you were given a red binder, and it was a copy of a notebook or notebooks, and it contained 396 pages, and the first page was entitled Learning in Office Document, 17th of December 1977, and for the record its introductory submission Annex C number 14.3 Khmer 0007761 to 0007856 with partial English translation at 00184579 to 00184618 and then partial English translation at 00242259 to 00242263. The first date of this document appears on the 17th of December 1977.
President, Mr. Prosecutor, could you please slow down a little bit when you read the ER number for a good record, please?
Yes, Your Honour. This binder, is this a copy of your notes that you made between 1975 and 1979 at S21?
The President, could you please then repeat the ERN number? I got the notice from the interpreter that he cannot really render it.
Thank you. I apologise, Your Honour. The Khmer ERN number is 0007 766 1 to 0007 8056, with the English translation partial 0018 4579 to 0018 4618. Another English ERN 0024 2259 to 0024 2263. Mr. Mamnai, do you agree that's a copy of your notebooks from that period at S21?
ដែលលោកបានរៀបចំនៅក្នុងដំណាក់កាលស21ពេលនោះ
សូមជម្រាបលោក
Mom Nai,
ឯកសារដែលថតចម្លងនេះ
this copied document contains my writing. I was not the one who prepared it. I was dictated according to the lecture by Deutsch.
And in that document, we've reviewed about 45 different dates over that period. And is it fair to say that when there's a new date, that's a new lecture or a new meeting for you to record the notes of those discussions? Do the new dates reflect new meetings or new lectures?
Mom Nai,
កាលបរិច្ឆេទវាខុសគ្នាអានឹងប្រកាសជារឿងក៏ខុសគ្នាដែរ
of course, when the new date is different, then the content of the discussion is different too.
Mr. President, I just have 5 more minutes. Mr. Mamnai, in that document there are numerous references relating to the use of torture at S21. Yesterday, in court, you were asked by Judge Timoni if Duik instructed you on the method of interrogation or torture. You answered, when I interrogated either Cambodian or Vietnamese, I was not instructed on methods of torture or interrogation. As to whether the others were taught by Duik, you replied, I was only mindful of my duties. They were mindful of their own. It was beyond my knowledge. Mr. Mamnai, you've stated that you did not know of torture at S21, and yet this document, which references I'll give the trial chamber later, is full of references in relation to torture at S21. So in fact, you were aware of the practice of torture at S21 because you and others were instructed to carry it out. Do you agree with that?
ខ្ញុំសូមជម្រាប
Mom Nai,
ខទី1ចំពោះខ្លួនខ្ញុំ
For me,
គឺថាគាត់មិនដែលណែនាំខ្ញុំ
personally, I was never instructed on how tortures were used, but in the annotation in that book or in the writings of that book, it was recorded in the meeting in which Deutsch gave lectures, and also based on other interrogations of other interrogators, and I have no idea what other kind of practices applied by other interrogators.
Mr. Mamnai, is it the case that you're minimising your role at S21 in light of all the evidence that you've heard and your knowledge of events at S21 and the activities of people at S21 because you want to isolate or remove yourself from the horrible criminality that occurred there? Have you tried to do that? Have you tried to block your mind and isolate yourself from the crimes at S21?
Mr. Prosecutor, I have never had such idea. I am testifying based on the activities I have done.
Thank you, Your Honour. I have no further questions.
The President, we know that Mr. Frank Korong is on his feet. The floor is yours.
Mr. President, just an observation from the defense at this level, the proceedings. Mr. Mamnai is a witness who was summoned by the prosecutor on the prosecutor's list.
The President, next, we would like to give the floor to the civil party lawyers to put questions to the witness. Please be reminded that civil party lawyers have 20 minutes for each group. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honours. Thank you. I only want to inform the Chamber that the civil party lawyers took the following agreement. Group 4 will start, and then the other groups, Group 3, Group 2, and Group 1, will follow and share the remaining time. And so I give now then the floor to Group 4 to start. Thank you.
The President, civil party lawyers Group 4, you take the floor. Mr. Hong Kam Soon. Thank you, Mr. President. Your Honours.
I
would like to inform the Chamber that since we have 20 minutes, but we would like to take this opportunity to combine another group if we need more time in our during the time when we put questions to Mr. Mr. Mamnai, if you feel my questions are not clear, please ask me to repeat them. The first question is in relation to your notebook in which you just responded to the prosecutor just now. You said that notebook which contains 396 pages was not prepared by you. You only dictated from the lectures given by Deutsch. Is that correct? Mamnai. That's correct. Hong Kum Soon. Thank you. Second question. You stated to the chamber that you went into S21 office, now known as Tul Slang. And you said you only went there once and you met your student. Is that correct? Mom Nai, that's correct. Hong Kum Soon, thank you. The next question. Since many years have already passed, and of course you said sometimes you can recollect the event, sometimes you can't. Other than the student you said you met, what about other detainees, including your former teachers, including Chao Seng? Were they detained at S21 too? Mom Nai. It is true that my teacher was detained at S21, but he was detained in a house to the south of Bonyayad School. Hong Kum Soon, thank you. Next. As a staff member of S21, and later on, you were addressed by Deutsch as Brother Mom Nai. So it appears that you had higher status than him through my listening to this at the session. So in your notebook, and that you said you only dictated the lectures given by Deutsch. Were you there alone to dictate that kind of lecture, or were there any other people involved? Mom Nai, having reviewed the documents yesterday, I think at the beginning there was lectures by Nat, who was the chairperson, and later on Deutsch took turn to become the presenters in such sessions. Hong Kum Soon, could you please simplify your expression when you said Otesanium in Khmer, which means presentation? What was it meant to be? Mom Nai, presentation means to tell, to explain, to describe about the lectures, and to give lessons, handouts. So this is part of that presentation which I referred to. Hong Kum Soon, thank you. So, regarding the taking notes in that document, you only dictated the words from your superior during the study sessions. Is that correct? Mom Nai, that's correct. Hong Kum Soon, thank you. Next question. After Nat, who was the former chairman of S21, left, in the document we found your name as the staff member of S21, and you remained the staff member at S21. Had you ever attended meeting or met Son Sen, who was Deutsch superior? Mom Nai, Mr. Lawyer, once there was a livelihood meeting of the party, And as I already told the court earlier already, I think the meeting was conducted outside of the location of S21 to the south of the train station, but I cannot remember where it was. At that time, Brother Son Sen attended in the meeting as the chairperson of the meeting. And that was a livelihood meeting. I want to be precise here. Hong Kam Soon, thank you. The last question. These documents concerning the daily accounts of staff member, and only you who made that record. Had this document been reviewed by Son Sen? He never requested that the book be reviewed by him. Hong Kam Soon. Did Nat, Deutsch or Comrade Ho ever review this notebook? Response. These three people had never reviewed my book. Hong Kam Soon, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to share this floor to my colleague, and I have no further questions for the moment. Mr. President, the other group of lawyers take the floor now.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président.
Ms. Jacquin. Good morning, Mr. Mamnai. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. I'd like to put the following questions to you. First of all, when you were at M13, do you believe that the prisoners' living conditions in the pits were comparable to your detention conditions while you were imprisoned under the former regime?
The circumstances were different, so the detention of detainees were different also. The circumstances during the time when I was arrested, it was at peace, no war, no conflicts, no bombardments from the Americans. But during the time when the detainees were detained at 13 during the revolutionary regime, the country was bombarded. So villages would be bombarded by bombs by the Americans. So in order not to put these detainees in danger, then we had to put them in the pits. Even staff members of the offices had to be taken refuge in the pits.
Ms. Jacquin, when you were detained under the former regime, did you imagine that you would be executed, or did you think that you might be released one day?
At that time, I never thought of that, because I thought that when I was arrested, I was in the hands of them, so whatever happened to me depends on how they treated me. And I also heard that the Free Khmer or Khmer Serai people were arrested and killed, so I thought that it depends on my captors.
Ms. Jacquin, do you believe that the prisoners at M13 ever considered that they might be released alive?
អាចនឹងមានពេលណាមួយគេដោះលែងដោយមានសេរីភាពរស់រានទេ
កាលខ្ញុំនៅ
Mom Nai.
មក
When I was at M13, at the beginning, I forgot that it was a security office. But then now I can recall that it was M13, which was the security office. Back then, I noticed that there were 2 people who were released, and I witnessed the release. And I have no idea whether other people would have been released too.
Ms. Jacquin, Mr. Mumnai, these prisoners at M13 were enemies, as you said. But who were they? Were they Americans, Vietnamese, or maybe others?
Mom Nai, at M13, there were no foreigners ever being detained. Only Khmer detainees were there.
Ms. Jacquin, later on, you said that your wife joined you with your children and that she took charge of the kitchen at S21. And you also said that you had a residence which was not your office. So did you live in this residence with your wife and your children?
Mom Nai, when we lived in Phnom Penh at S21, I asked Comrade Dodge so that my wife could join me because they had lived somewhere near the monk hospital, and then we lived in a residence all together with my family. At night, when we did not work, so we stayed in that house. During the daytimes, I would go to work in a different area during the interrogation sessions.
Ms. Jacquin, in the evening with your wife, who therefore was working in the kitchen of S21, did you ever talk to her about what was your workplace for both of you? That is to say, S21. And did you ever talk about what you might have known about each other's work?
And if you could elaborate on the question that I asked you.
Mom Nai, I would like, of course, to provide more information very much, but what I said was to the limit of my knowledge, and beyond that, I could not say it because I do not have knowledge of it.
Thank you, Mr. Mamnai. I give now the floor to my colleagues who have still 24 minutes from Group 1. Thank
you.
The President, Alain Wagner, you take the floor.
Merci. Mr. Werner. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, sir. My name is Alain Werner. I and my colleague, T. Srina, who is beside me, represent civil parties, and we have a few questions to put to you. The first thing I would like to do is to show you a document. I have distributed a copy of the document to the prosecution, to the counsel, for the witness, the accused's counsel as well. This is ERN 002799916 to 002799917. This document was put before the court last Monday when the civil party was giving testimony on the 6th of July 2009, and the accused said that this document was prepared by the witness. I am not going to talk about the contents of the document. I just wish to show the document to the witness to confirm that the witness in fact wrote the document. If the court officer could please help to provide a copy of the document to the witness.
The President, court officer, can you take the document from the lawyer and present it to Mr. Momnai?
Monsieur, si vous pouvez simplement regarder ce document.
Mr. Werner, if you could please look at this document, sir, and confirm or deny whether this is in fact your handwriting on the document.
Momnai. The handwriting of this confession is my handwriting. However, at the request section, it is not my handwriting.
Merci. Merci, monsieur.
Mr. Werner, thank you, sir. The court officer can take the document back from the witness.
Monsieur, ce que j'aimerais faire avec vous,
Mr. Werner, what I would like to do with you, sir, is to read a number of statements you made to the co-investigating judges. And I would like to know whether you did indeed make these statements, and if so, whether you can confirm the veracity of the statements. I shall start with a statement which you made to the co-investigating judges. For my colleagues, the reference is G2216, and the ERN in French is 001-65022 to 001-65023. I am going to make sure that I read out the question that was put and your answer. This interview was conducted in 2007 on the 7th of November. The question put to you was as follows. After Doik looked at the confessions, before providing an opinion on those confessions, did Doik have to ask the upper echelon before making notations on the confessions? And this is your answer. From what I observed, probably after he looked at the responses, he analyzed the responses to see if they had to be further interrogated, or if the responses could be sent on up, and if they had to be re-interrogated, Doik made the notations to re-interrogate. Question. In general, how many days did Doik take to respond to confession? Answer. Sometimes a long time, sometimes quickly, but no longer than 1 week. Question. In what cases would Doik send a confession to the upper echelon? Answer. From what I knew, probably only after Doik thought it was sufficient and the confession was proper. Then he would send it to the upper echelon. Sir, do you remember making this statement before the co-investigating judges?
Yes, I can remember it.
Mr. Werner, did what you state was what you stated the truth, sir?
Mom Nai, what I said before the investigators of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges is, from my understanding, true, based on my own analysis. As I did not know the fact, but it's my analysis.
Merci, monsieur.
Mr. Werner, thank you, sir. I would like to present to you another excerpt of a statement you made. This is at D52. In French, ERN 00164397. This was another interview on the 14th of February 2008, and you stated as follows. I understood that Doik reported every matter to the upper echelon in writing, and when the upper level telephoned, he would then respond by telephone. I knew that the lists of all the prisoners were sent to the center, who were the people who made the decisions, and those lists were made by the interrogators. I assume that according to the law, the center sent the confessions to the basis followed up, and then arrested prisoners. Sometimes the basis brought them in, sometimes S21 went to get them. And my question is the same here. Do you recall making that statement before the co-investigating judges in regard to the list of prisoners?
Mom Nai, what I said is the truth. The list of the prisoners made by interrogators were the names of those people who were implicated in the confessions.
Monsieur, si vous pouvez vous souvenir.
Mr. Werner, if you could recall, how many times did this happen?
Mom Nai. I cannot recall how many times it happened.
Était-ce plus d'une fois, selon votre
Mr. Werner, to the best of your recollection, was it more than once?
ចងចាំរបស់លោកថាតើមានតែម្ដងឬមួយយ៉ាងម៉េច
Mom Nai. I cannot recall how many times.
J'aimerais vous mettre une...
Mr. Werner, I want to put to you another statement you made to the co-investigating judges. I return to your statement of the 7th of November 2007. This is document D22/16, and the French ERN is 00165033 and 00165034. I shall now go to the question and answer. Question. So there were arrests made at S21, as suggested by Dyke and authorized by the upper level. Answer. It had to be like that to be done. Question. As for the people you wanted to help, was there anyone you wanted to help but could not? Answer. Other than those in the unit, those who joined the revolution with me, whenever Dutch let me know, I could protect them because Dutch would listen to my opinions. And if someone had not made revolution with me, I would not dare defend him. Question. The last time you talked about seeing one of your students get into trouble and you could not help, how was that? Answer. My student, whom I did not dare help, had been arrested by the base and sent. I met him. I did not dare because he had already been arrested. If I had known before, and they had told me that this person was in trouble, I could have guaranteed that he was a student of mine. Do you remember making that statement before the co-investigating judges?
Mom Nai. I responded so, and the reasons that I wanted to defend those people because I loved justice and those people were innocent. So then, in order to defend the justice and because they were the people whom I know, then I would do so. And for those people whom I did not know, then I would not be able to provide them with anything.
Mr. Werner, could you please confirm that what I have read out to you is the truth?
Mom Nai, it is the truth.
Alors, je vais continuer.
Mr. Werner, I shall now move on. Immediately after, that is, immediately following the excerpt I've just read out, to continue. And you go on to say after the last sentence I read out, you say, it is like Chai Kim Ho, alias Hawk, talking about oil, saying that American oil was better than Chinese oil. Dyke told me that he reported this to the Central Committee. How many other people implicated him, I don't know. But I imagine that was probably in combination with him having been implicated before they made the decision to arrest him. Question. So at that time, did Dyke have the right to propose to Upper Anchor to arrest people outside S21? Answer. Dyke could report in cases which he personally knew. Question. How did it happen that Dyke knew Hawk had talks about oil. Answer. Doig had gone to visit Hock's house. Hock was bold and spoke frankly with those who knew him. Doig was quick to report. As in my case, when only one regimental cadre had implicated me, saying that I had visited his uncle's house, and that uncle had accused me of being a mercenary. Just that, and Doig wanted to report to the center. Doig was very quick to make reports. Did you make that statement before the co-investigating judges?
Mom Nai. Yes, I did say that.
Est-ce conforme à la vérité, monsieur?
Is this consistent with the truth, sir?
Mom Nai. When Comrade Dodge reported about me that the enemy implicated me, and when he reported that Comrade Hong talking about the Chinese oil, which was less superior than the American oil, it was the truth. His intention was for the upper echelon to analyze the situation and whether other prisoners implicated Comrade Hawk in other confessions, that is beyond my knowledge.
Et lorsque vous avez déclaré que je vous ai lu que
Mr. Werner, when you stated that Doig was very quick to make reports, would that be the truth, sir?
Mom Nai, from my understanding, it is the truth. He was quick.
Merci, monsieur.
Mr. Werner, thank you, sir. 3 months ago, in reference to M13, Judge Laverne put a question to the accused. And I would like to read Judge Laverne's question and the accused's answer, and the French ERN is 00315691. This was about M13, as I said. The question: the guards had weapons, so when someone escaped, then the guards had to fire at the escapee. Is that correct? The accused responds: the guards had weapons, so when someone escaped, the guards had to fire at the escapee who was fleeing. I would like to recall an event that occurred when someone escaped and the guard shot at the escapee. At the time, I was not at the detention center. It is Mam Nai who chased after the escapee and tried to shoot at him. Sarun, the guard, was a good shot, and then he shot once, and accidentally his bullet hit Brother Mam Nai. So this is an example of a mistake. The guard mistook Mam Nai for a fleeing detainee. So it was the rule to shoot on those who were attempting to escape. And I can tell you that Brother Mam Nai did not attempt to avenge this act. End of quote. Do you remember the event? Is this consistent with the truth? There's no need to go into detail about the event.
Mom Nai. It is the truth. I was shot by a person who was running behind me. I was running faster than those younger guards, and I used shortcut. And the person behind me shot at me, and I was hit 4 times.
Merci, monsieur.
Mr. Werner, thank you, sir. Just one more subject and I will be through, Mr. President. This is a matter that has been brought up on several occasions, and I'd like to put to you something that you said before the co-investigating judges, amongst others. You and others participated in a reconstruction. You returned to Tulsa Lane at the behest of the co-investigating judges. And I'm referring to the record of the reconstruction, which starts at ER in French 00181347. And I'm referring particularly to page number 00181353. And there were at least 20 people with you, according to the record of the proceedings. There were the co-investigating judges, there were members of the Office of the Co-Prosecutor, there was the accused and his lawyers, and several people spoke publicly that day. And there was a transcript made in this document, the document to which I'm referring now. During this reenactment, you and the other participants went into the third room on the ground floor of Building D, and this contained torture, instruments of torture that had been displayed. And while there, the accused explained that the choice of instruments of torture was solely the choice of the interrogators. And the witness took the floor, and what is written is this after that. Witness Momnai said that he only used whips and electric wires. That is my last question, sir. Is it not true that before the prosecution, the co-investigating judges and the defense, in room number 3 on the ground floor of Building 3, you weren't you telling the truth on that day?
Momnai. I would like to exercise my right to remain silent on this matter.
Mr. Werner, thank you for answering some of my questions. I have nothing further.
The President. Now the time for the civil party lawyers to question the witness has come to an end, and it's only a few minutes before the break. Therefore, the chamber will adjourn for lunch, and it will resume this afternoon starting from 1:30 p.m. Court officer, can you make necessary arrangement for the witness for his lunch and the waiting room? Security guards take the accused back to the detention facility and bring him back before 1:30. The court is adjourned.
Response. I did not know the reasons for their release. It's the duty exclusively under Comrade Dutch. Question. At M13, it was divided into two, M13A and M13B respectively. Did you ever visit M13B? Response. Previously, I did not know there were M13A and M13B. Only later I learned that. Before I went to Omlang, I went for a quick visit to M13B. Then I continued my trip to Omlang. Question. At M13B, you did not know what the prisoners were asked to do. Is this correct? Response. I did not know what they were asked to do. Question. At M13, when Francois Bizot was released, did you know when he was released and were you there at the time? Response. Bizot was released, and at that time I was not yet at that location. I did not stay there yet, and I was not aware that Bizot was detained there. Questions regarding armed conflict. You stated to the chamber that June or Vietnamese who were arrested and sent to S21, you regarded them as the territorial invaders. Is this correct? Response. That is the truth. Question. What about the Democratic Cambodia soldiers who entered the Vietnamese territory? Did you know that? Response. At that time I was not aware of that, but it's my conclusion the fighting back and forth would lead into another one's territory. Question. At S21 and at Chương Ai, did you know S21 medics or medical staff? Response. At S21 for the medical staff, I did not know them well. I heard the name, Tree, that's all. Question. If you did not know them well, did you know if there were any female medical staff at S21? Response. No, I was not sure on that. Question. You were an interrogator. Did you know the existence of the 10th security or Santebal rules? Response. I did not see it. Question. Can you verify clearly On the confession of Professor Pengton, did he make the confession personally from his heart, or was he forced to make his confession? And when did you summarize his confession and send it to Dutch? Response. Regarding the interrogation of Pengton, I did the interrogation. There was no, he was not forced to confess. It is the same, it was in the same situation as of my professor Chao Seng. They spoke from their own heart. Question at S21. The method of organization and supervision under Enloan and or alias Nat, and when Dutch rose to be the chairman, did the style of management change or was it the same? Response. It is through my analysis that the style of management was almost the same. Mr. President, I do not have more questions for this witness, and I would like to give the floor to my international counterpart, President. The International Defense Council, you take the floor.
Mr. Roux, thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Mamnai. I am François Roux. I am Duke's second lawyer, and I would like to put to you a few questions. However, I wish to be frank with you, as Maître Werner reminded you yesterday. When you answer, you are obliged to say the truth. But if you wish not to answer, you have the right to remain silent, as you did this morning. However, in order to be frank with you again, I must tell you that you shouldn't believe the co-prosecutors when they tell you that they cannot prosecute you. The defense has just received, during the lunch break, a document titled The Written Answers of the Co-Prosecutors to the Preliminary Exception Raised by the Defense, and through which it challenges the applicability of the 1956 Cambodian Criminal Code. In paragraph 20 of this document, in paragraph 21 of this document, the co-prosecutors write down, by signing the Convention Against Torture, Cambodia has subscribed to the absolute obligation of prosecuting any person who is presumed of being responsible for acts of torture. So what was told to you orally is not the same thing as what has been written by the co-prosecutors. So as far as I am concerned, Mr. Mamnai, I just have a few questions that regard you more directly. You explained to the chamber
អង្គសវនាការ
The President, I noticed the presence of the international co-prosecutor. You take the floor.
Your Honour, as I reminded Learned Counsel yesterday, matters such as these in relation to Rule 28.8 should be discussed in camera, and this is the second time the Defence Counsel has gone into this in detail, not in camera. And secondly, there may well be a translation issue, but that certainly wasn't the position put forward by the prosecution yesterday, that no prosecution may be possible at all. It was put forward that it is very remote, but that certainly wasn't the position put forward. I would ask that if Council would like to raise these matters, these delicate matters, they be done in the appropriate manner under Rule 28.8, and otherwise he just put questions to the witness rather than raise this issue inappropriately.
The President. Thank you, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, for your remark. The Chamber would like to remind the Defence Counsel that you are given the floor in order to put questions regarding the fact alleged on your client. You are not given a floor to make another statement besides putting questions to the witness. Secondly, regarding the rights and obligations, it is the Chamber's responsibility to inform the witness, and it has done so. It is not the duty of the Council to remind or to provide a clue to the witness. The Chamber has already assigned a legal counsel to provide assistance regarding questions or statements which may be made by the witness and which could lead to self-incrimination. Therefore, you are given the floor so that you are entitled to put questions to the witness in order to ascertaining the truth. And it's not for you to make any other statement during this time.
Mr. Hu, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to respectfully remind the Chamber that the National Prosecutor began with this issue this morning by indicating to the witness that he does not risk anything.
The President, I would give the floor to you to put questions to the witness, and if you do not have any questions to be put to this question, then the Chamber would invite another witness to appear before the Chamber.
I was getting to this before being interrupted by my colleague, and I indicated to the witness that you stated to the Chamber in the context through which you joined the revolution. I'd like you to explain to the Chamber what were your personal reasons to join the revolution. Some
I joined the revolution was because when I studied in year 3, I studied the history of the Soviet Union and China, and I learned about the communists, and I loved the communism, which supports the proletarian class, the poor peasant class. That's the reason of my joining the revolution.
Council, once you joined the revolution, you said to the chamber, quote, "We were told to reconstruct ourselves according to the political line." What did this mean for you, to reconstruct yourself? What did to reconstruct yourself mean specifically? You were already a dedicated communist on the basis of what you told us. So what did reconstructing yourself mean for you?
That house. During the daytimes, I would go to work in a different area during the interrogation sessions.
Ms. Jacquin, in the evening with your wife, who therefore was working in the kitchen of S21, did you ever talk to her about what was your workplace for both of you? That is to say, S21. And did you ever talk about what you might have known about each other's work?
No.
Mom Nai, at S21, my wife only focused on her work, and I only was mindful of my business, and I never share or exchange our matters at work among ourselves.
Ms. Jacquin, you said that you learned to not hear anything, to not see anything, in order not to know anything. And why was it necessary not to know, or what was it necessary not to know?
Mom Nai, learning not to know, not to hear anything, was consistent to the principle of the party, because we were supposed to be mindful of our own business, and that we had to be not mindful of other people's business. I think Cambodian people had the tradition of of not listening to others.
Ms. Jacquin, you also said to us that you were afraid of asking questions to Duke, but what were you afraid of?
Mom Nai, I was not afraid of questioning Deutsch, but when the enemy implicated me in their confession, and that when Deutsch told me that I was implicated and he later on removed my interrogation task, and I was so worried that probably Deutsch had no longer trusted me, and that he would probably find some kind of pretext to arrest me. That's what I was feared of.
Jacquin, but Mr. Mumnai, why were you afraid of being arrested since you were a deeply convinced communist and you were honest and you worked with a lot of dedication? So why would people mistrust you and why would they have arrested you if maybe you noticed yourself among the prisoners that you interrogated? Some of them might have been in a similar situation as yours. Maybe you felt that their detention wasn't quite justified.
I was worried because he told me the enemy had implicated me, especially during that period. If someone was implicated, then that person would be in trouble, and that was my worry.
But, Mr. Mumnai, what happened to the person who was incriminated? Was this person interrogated? Was this person detained? What happened to this person? Why were you so afraid?
When someone was implicated, that person had to be worried, because if we were to make a wrong move or a mistake, then we would be arrested.
Ms. Jacquin, and if a person was arrested, what happened to the person? Do you have no idea what happened to your former teacher whom you had met?
Momnai, regarding my teacher, I did not learn of his fate, but Dutch assigned me to interrogate him, so I did that. I handed a piece of paper to him, and I told him, teacher, whatever mistakes you made, you just write down on the paper. And after it was complete, I read the confession and I sent it to Dutch.
Mr. Mumnai,
why were you yourself so frightened? If it is true that a person when arrested was given a piece of paper to make a confession, you were revolutionary, you were ready to sacrifice your life, you've been in prison for 2 years. Why were you afraid of these confessions?
Momnai, could you please rephrase your question?
Ms. Jacquin, as in the case of your previous teacher, if being arrested meant that you were summoned by an interrogator who asked you to write down your mistakes as you did with your teacher, it wouldn't be such a difficult thing to do. So I fail to see how you, a courageous revolutionary, would be afraid to provide a confession in such conditions.
តើលោកមានការភ័យខ្លាចយ៉ាងម៉េចនៅពេលដែលគេផ្ដល់ចម្លើយសារភាពបែបនោះក្នុងលក្ខខណ្ឌដែលលោកឲ្យគេសរសេរហើយនោះ
Momnai, I still do not understand your question, so I would like to exercise my rights to be silent. The President, I noticed the presence of the legal counsel for the witness. I am not sure, maybe there is a misunderstanding or a confession. This is not a confession. It is an implication from one person to this witness during that period. So if we are talking about the confession, then the confession does not have anything to do with this witness. Thank you. The President, the witness just reserved his right to be silent. So the civil party lawyer, you proceed with another question.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Ms. Jacquin, thank you, Mr. President. Question. When you were interrogating the Vietnamese detainees, you were faced with soldiers, and these soldiers could be privy to information that your army needed. As you said, it was a time of war. If these soldiers simply refused to provide the information they had, did you stop the interrogation? What did you do?
តើលោកនឹងបញ្ឈប់ការសួរចម្លើយនោះឬក៏យ៉ាងម៉េចឬក៏លោកធ្វើអីទៀតបើសិនជាគេមិនព្រមផ្ដល់ចម្លើយនោះ
ជំរាបប្រសាទមកណៃបើសិនជាគេមិនផ្ដល់ចម្លើយ
If they did not provide the confessions,
ត្រូវតែជជែកសួរ
then we had to find out the reasons and to explain to them, because regarding the situation at the battlefield, it was not that difficult, so they should not conceal that information.
Mr. Mamnai, in your notebook, page 72, you wrote, for example, an enemy does not respond. This concerns the method of the interrogator. So, if a soldier refuses to respond, you do not try to convince him that he really must answer, if perhaps it involves, even if perhaps it involves the use of more robust methods.
ធ្វើការសួរចម្លើយដែលមានលក្ខណៈរឹងប៉ឹងនិងជំរុញឲ្យឆ្លើយជាងមុន
កាលណា
Mom Nai,
វារឹងរូសអានឹងគេហៅថា
when they were stubborn, then I would use the chewing method. That means to constantly asking them repetitive questions, and later on I would allow them to retreat, to think for 2 or 3 days.
Monsieur Moulay, est-ce que vos bureaux n'étaient pas sur la rue 360?
Were your offices not in Street 360 in the primary school building, just near the place where there was water, what you say that we refer to as ponds?
Mom Nai, the house where I interrogated the prisoners was near the Suez Canal.
Est-ce que vous n'avez pas vu passer devant votre maison?
Did you not see cars or trucks passing in front of your house, carrying people going to or returning from S21?
Mom Nai, the street which the trucks used was on the south. It was a few blocks away. And the boundary of the Tulsline prison, it was also quite a distance. So I never saw any car or truck driving or passing by the road in front of the house.
Est-ce que vous avez cru,
Ms. Jacquin,
before
the 7th of January 1979, did you believe that the Vietnamese would succeed in overrunning Phnom Penh?
Could you please repeat your question?
Est-ce que vous avez pensé, avant la prise
de
Phnom
Penh, that before Phnom Penh was taken on the 7th of January 1979, that the Vietnamese would be able to beat the Revolutionary Army and take Phnom Penh?
កងទ័ពវៀតណាមនោះអាចទទួលជោគជ័យហើយធ្វើការវាយប្រហារទៅលើកងទ័ពវៀតណាមខ្មែរក្រហមដែរឬទេ
សូមជម្រាបប្រសាសន៍លោកស្រី
Mom Nai. I noticed the presence of the legal counsel. You take the floor. I have listened to some questions posed by the civil party lawyers, and some of the questions seem to focus on the thinking or the conclusion to be made by the witness. If the witness has to provide his conclusion, then it's not related to the facts. So the questions all point to the responses which are the facts related to the events that occurred. And if the question seems to wants to get the thinking or the conclusion of the witness, then it cannot be used as evidence. Thank you. The President. Thank you, the Defense Counsel. I would like to remind you that you, as assigned by the visual unit, is to provide your assistance to the witness, to counsels. The questions or the request for his statements that you consider that if he responds to those questions that would make him guilty, and regarding the proceedings or how to question the witness is none of your concern. This person is summoned before this chamber as a witness, not as an accused. So you are reminded on this matter, and you should only provide your assistance to your client if his response would lead to self-incrimination or would make him guilty because of such a response. The civil party lawyer, you may proceed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Dernière question.
Ms. Jacquin, thank you, Mr. President. I shall now ask one last question and give the floor to my colleague, Mr. Mamnai. I shall frame the question differently. In all the political meetings that you had, did you consider around the end of 1978 that you should envisage a retreat because the Vietnamese might win the battle with the Cambodian army and take Phnom Penh?
វៀតណាមនោះគាត់បានទ័ពវៀតណាមបានចូលលុកលុយនិងចូលមកធ្វើការវាយប្រហារនៅក្នុងទីក្រុងភ្នំពេញ
ជំរាបប្រសាសន៍លោក
Mom Nai.
គឺនៅពេលនោះ
At that time,
ពួកយើងខ្ញុំគឺ
We did not know anything regarding the situation. We did not know how far the Vietnamese troops had reached. And suddenly we heard the gun explosions and we realized that Vietnamese troops already arrived. So we rushed to flee, and that was all.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je laisse la parole à ma consoeur.
Thank you, Mr. President. My colleague will now take the floor.
The President, the 20 minutes for Group 3 runs out. Except another group would share their time. However, for Group 3, the 20 minutes has already gone. Now it is time for a break. The chamber will take an 18-minute break until 11 a.m. when it will resume the proceedings. Court officer, provide necessary refreshment to this witness.
The President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. We continue to hear testimony of Mr. Mom Nai, the witness. We would like to give the floor to the civil party lawyers group 2. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. Mamnai. My name is Silke Styczynski. I'm a lawyer for civil parties. I would like to ask you some questions. Do you recall if the prisoners who were assigned to be interrogated by you, if Doik sent these prisoners to you, and how, if so, how did he send these prisoners to you?
បើសិនជាគាត់បញ្ជូនឲ្យលោកសួរចម្លើយមែននោះតើគាត់បញ្ជូនតាមរយៈណាដោយរបៀបណា
Mom Nai, before responding to your question, I would like Mr. President's leave to identify the statement that the lawyer said. I indicated that I did not respond, so please, with Mr. President leave, could you please do it? The President, the chamber allows. Mom Nai, the reason that I did not respond to the lawyer had no other reason behind it other than I don't understand her question. And regarding your last question, could you please repeat so that I can respond fully.
I'm not sure about what I heard in English, but if you want that I repeat the question, I can do so. I make it very simple. Did the accused send the prisoners for interrogation to you?
ដែលអ្នកទោសដែលត្រូវសួរចម្លើយមកឲ្យលោកសួរដែរឬទេ
តាមខ្ញុំដឹងគឺថា
So far as I know, he perhaps ordered or instructed Uncle Ho to send the prisoners to me, but I'm not sure.
But to clarify, he did not talk to you and informed you, I will send now this or that prisoner to you. Is this right?
Mom Nai, he never talked about this regarding the detainees, but regarding the Vietnamese detainees, he would tell me that the Vietnamese soldiers were arrested from the battlefields and that I had to interrogate them.
Did you ever interrogate important prisoners?
Mom Nai, I never interrogated any detainees who were important cadres.
What were the criteria to classify prisoners in important and not important prisoners?
Mom Nai, could you please repeat your question?
I would like to know the criteria who was considered as an important prisoner and who was not an important prisoner.
Mom Nai, the important detainees were the senior cadres.
What is about high-ranking intellectuals?
បានន័យថាគេចាត់ប្រភេទអ្នកទោសទៅតាមកម្រិតដែលថាពួកគេជាបញ្ញវន្តនិងមានឋានៈខ្ពស់អញ្ចឹងមែនដែរឬទេ
Mom Nai, no one was regarded as intellectual or not in the rank of the party. When a person was a high-ranking cadre, then he or she was regarded as important prisoner or detainee when they were arrested. So these people included those who got the ranks above the district governor or secretary.
Did you know at the time when you worked in S21, did you know the name of Mr. Phung Ton?
Mom Nai. I saw him in the former regime and I knew him, but at S21 I don't remember whether I interrogated him, although I observed the handwriting of mine with the name of Mr. Phung Ton, but I cannot recollect it.
What did you know about him at this time? What did you know about his doing in the former regime?
Mom Nai, during the former regime, I learned that I cannot find the right terms to fit even the Khmer or the French version. Actually, during the time when lecturers gathered to conduct a conference, then we would see him. It is the pedagogy conference, and that there were two people in the debates, including Son Sen and Mr. Phung Ton, so we could see their hear their debates in such conference.
So is it correct to say that you attended a conference where Mr. Phung Ton had a debate with Mr. Son Sen? Is this what you wanted to say?
Mom Nai, is correct to say that.
How many times did you attend such conferences with the presence of Mr. Phung Ton?
បែបនោះប្រមាណដងដែរដែលពេលនោះមានលោកផឹងតុននោះ
Mom Nai, I only attended such conference once, so far as I remember.
Do you know the position of Mr. Phung Ton at this time?
លោកផឹងតុនដែរទេនៅពេលនោះ
Mom Nai, I did not know for sure what title he earned back then. I knew he was a professor, and maybe he was the Secretary of State of the Ministry of Education. I might be wrong.
I would like to ask the President to direct the AV to put this photo on screen. This is a photo of Mr. Phung Ton.
The President, could you please give the ERN reference number?
Sorry, I was wrong. Put it on the screen. To put it on the screen, not for the AV.
Qu'il convient d'alerter, il suffit simplement de mettre cette photo, de la projeter.
Mr. Mamnai, this is a photo taken in Tulslang when he entered. When he entered Tulslang. Do you recognize him? Okay.
បើមើលតាម
Mom Nai. I think I recognize him, but I cannot recall the time, his physical appearance during the time when he was at S21. But with this photo, I can confirm that it is a photo of Mr. Phung Ton.
Could you remove the photo, please, from the screen?
មេធាវីសូមលោកធ្វើការដកយករូបភាពនេះវិញចេញពីម៉ាស៊ីនបញ្ចាំង
Our next question to Mr. Mamnai.
សំណួរបន្ទាប់របស់ខ្ញុំជូនលោក Mamnai.
Could you recall now after you have seen his photo?
ចាំទេនៅពេលដែលលោកបន្ទាប់ពីលោកឃើញរូបថតនេះ
health situation he was interrogated
ថាតើលោកចាំអំពីស្ថានភាពផ្សេងៗដែលគាត់នឹងត្រូវបានសួរចម្លើយដោយលោកដែរឬទេ
សូមជម្រាបលោកស្រីខ្ញុំមិនចាំ
Mom Nai. I don't remember.
Mr. President, could you please direct the AV to put on the screen the document that the prosecutors already have asked for? This is ERN number 00188839 through 0018843.
The President, the AV unit is instructed to put this document with ERN as requested by lawyer Stodzinski up on the screen from 00188839 to 43.
I would also like to give for the summary, not the summary, the translation of this document in English, which is the ERN number 00239011 through 00239012, and in French 001888442246.
រហូតដល់លេខ 00188846
The President, the AV unit is instructed again to put this document with ERN in Khmer 00188839 through 00188843 on the screen, please.
My question to Mr. Mamnai is, if we look on the first page, I would also like to hand out you, if you can read it better than the hard copy. Mr. Mamnai, could you look on the first page? This little piece of paper, the first page, please. My question is this your handwriting?
Mom Nai. I was the one who wrote Phung Ton's confession. It's my handwriting.
Maybe there was a misunderstanding. I asked you to look on the first page, not of the confession, but where is a little piece of paper on the first page. And it's P376, the title, and then some words in Khmer and also in Latin. Could you please tell us if this also is your handwriting?
Mom Nai, it's not my handwriting.
Do you know who wrote this?
Mom Nai, I don't know.
Could the AV unit please be directed to scroll until the end of the document and to ask the greffier to read out the last paragraph starting in the English version with through the interrogator and so on. Could it be read out in Khmer?
The President, we seem to find it difficult to find the right paragraph because here we only see the part of the writing which says the true elements of the interrogators. I don't know whether we are now starting from here.
Yes, this is a part, as far as I can read it in the Khmer document, from 1 to 5, these points, and with the title of this paragraph at the end of the document.
The President, the greffier is instructed to read the last 6 lines. Through the interrogator, social justice, equal happiness for all, prosperity, protecting the country at all costs, and the Khmer style of communism. And Phung Ton was determined to be communist because he loved those above things.
Mr. Mamnai, is this your conclusion of the confession of Mr. Phung Ton?
Mom Nai, of course, this is my conclusion.
Could you tell us what should have followed from this conclusion?
សូមជម្រាបប្រសាសន៍លោកស្រី
Mom Nai.
ខ្ញុំមិនអាចសន្និដ្ឋានថាយ៉ាងម៉េចទេ
I cannot
ចំពោះ
make any conclusion now regarding the fate of Mr. Peng Ton. What I concluded here was based on his testimony or his confession. That's all.
Does this determination comply with the party line of the CPK?
ការសម្រេចធ្វើដូច្នេះគឺវាអនុវត្តទៅតាមគោលនយោបាយរបស់បកកុម្មុយនីសកម្ពុជាដែរឬទេ
ចំពោះបញ្ហានេះក៏
Mom Nai. I don't understand it, but I only analyzed based on the true situation at that time.
Would this determination lead to the conclusion that he is considered as an enemy of the revolution?
ខ្មាំងប្រឆាំងបដិវត្តន៍ដែរឬទេ
តាមសេចក្តីសន្និដ្ឋានរបស់ខ្ញុំគឺថា
It is my conclusion
វាដូចជាការដែលខ្ញុំទៅសេក្នុងចំណុចអញ្ចឹង
The content was exactly what I wrote in the confession.
Mr. Mam Nai, perhaps you have remarked, or you are aware that here in the courtroom, the relatives, the wife from Mr. Peng Ton and the daughter are sitting here in this room to know more about the fate of the father or husband. And it would be really helpful if you would contribute to find the truth for the relatives of Mr. Peng Ton. And if you could elaborate on the question that I asked you.
ធ្វើការផ្ដល់អត្ថាធិប្បាយបន្ថែមឬក៏ផ្ដល់ជាចម្លើយបន្ថែមចំពោះអ្វីដែលខ្ញុំសួរលោកនេះគឺជាការល្អណាស់
សូមជម្រាបប្រសាសន៍លោកស្រី
Mom Nai.
ខ្ញុំចង់ផ្ដល់ព័ត៌មាន
I would like, of course, to provide more information very much, but what I said was to the limit of my knowledge, and beyond that, I could not say it because I do not have knowledge of it.
Cells, according to the political line. What did this mean for you to reconstruct yourself? What did to reconstruct yourself mean specifically? You were already a dedicated communist on the basis of what you told us. So what did reconstructing yourself mean for you?
Response. Determined to rebuild myself was to rebuild my psychology, my stance, and my view to be one of the proletarian class. That is, to have only bare hands and not attached to any property. That is, just to have enough to survive.
Est-ce que vous pensez avoir
do you believe that you were successful at reconstructing yourself?
លោកទទួលបានជោគជ័យក្នុងការកសាងខ្លួនលោក
Response. I believed so because what I had done in rebuilding myself, I was a former professor I was in a bourgeoisie class, and then I rebuilt myself to adapt myself into the proletarian class, into the workers' class, and I achieved that. And that is the reason why the revolution allowed me to be a member of the party.
Counsel Roux, during the livelihood sessions, which are also called self-criticism sessions, what were the shortcomings that you found in yourself?
Response. In the livelihood meetings, I observed that I myself had certain shortcomings, that I still had some remnants of the old regime.
Counsel Roux, today, Mr. Mamnai, that is to say 30 years later, how do you perceive this period in your life?
Response. Could you please specify your question? Are you talking about my view on the current regime or the past regime?
Mr. Roux, I'm asking about what you think today about the regime of democratic Cambodia. What do you think today about the regime of democratic Cambodia?
Response. During that period, the living condition was one which had insufficient food, and it was the result of the war. However, there was one positive point, that is self-independence and self-mastery. According to the norms of the Buddhist disciplines, that is self-reliance, and that is the view, which is a positive view.
Counsel Roux, do you know, Mr. Mamnai, how many people were killed at S21?
Response. I do not have a duty or a position to know this matter.
Counsel Roux, do you know, Mr. Mamnai, how many people died in Cambodia during the democratic Cambodia regime?
Response. Also on this matter, I am even more illiterate. I don't know it.
Counsel, do you have any regrets about having been an interrogator at S21?
Response. I don't really understand this matter. Can you elaborate a bit further on your question?
Counsel, do you have any regrets today for having been an interrogator at S21?
Response. Having regret? Yes, I do have some regrets, I have to say.
Counsel, can you expand on this, please?
Mom Nai, I believe that there were some good people and there were some people who commit wrongdoings, and through my observation there were less good people than the bad people. So I am regretful for those small group of good people.
Mr. Hu, does this mean that you have no regrets for what you put into the category of the people who were less good and who were smashed? Is this what I must understand?
I'm very regretful for those good people who died and those people who are less good but they died, but I never been grateful for those bad people who died.
Merci, Monsieur le témoin.
Mr. Hu, thank you, witness. Mr. Prosecutor, I'd like to thank you. If you have other witnesses like this one, please do not hesitate to call them.
The President. Testimony of Mom Nai is Lias Chan has been heard completely already, and the defense counsel still has plenty of time to put questions to the witness, but they have decided to stop putting more questions. So the chamber would like actually to thank you, Mr. Mom Nai, for taking much of your time to give testimony to the chamber and to the parties. The President since we have already practiced so far in the proceedings that finally the accused is given an opportunity to give observations after the testimony of the witness or the civil party is heard, and as ideas have been well given, and the chamber would like to give the opportunity to the accused to make his observations concerning the testimony of Mr. Momnai. The floor is yours. The accused. Mr. President, first of all, I would like to give my impression concerning my private life regarding comparable to that of Brother Momnai and Comrade Pon. I am more favorable toward Comrade Pon than to him. I would like to give you two examples. Before I got married with my wife, I consulted with Comrade Pond, but I did not consult Brother Momnai. After the 17th of April, a little while later, I asked that I can get married. Comrade Rom said that she would like some more time, so then we discussed this among my to-be fiancé. Brother Momnai did not talk anything to me, but Comrade Pon came to me and talked to me and even criticized me. And he asked me to look at the situation, and he said that a lot of people left for Phnom Penh already. So if Sister Mom got married with me, then if I died, for example, what would happen to her? She would become a widow. And that's why I said that Pon had better relation to me than Brother Momnai. And regarding my house, the hometown of mine was close to that of Comrade Pon's hometown or house, and we joined the revolution together to Sector 105 in Saang, Koh Thom, and we had been working hard together. And when M13 was initially established, we worked together with Comrade Pond, and Pond worked his best to listen to me, whatever I wanted him to do. And Brother Momnai told the court already that only in 1973 that he started working at M13, and I observed that he was rather slow compared to that of Pon. So it is true that I am more favorable toward Pon rather than to Brother Momnai. Pon and his family and children died, and Brother Momnai also lost his wife and children. I think this is another story, but I like to share this to your honors that I did like Comrade Pon rather than Brother Momnai. I would like to touch upon the documents left over and recorded by Momnai. On one page of the documents, with ERN 00078 012. It was about the session I and Brother Mom Nai attended at the stadium while Son Sen gave lecture. So, having seen this writing, I changed my impression, and I had to stick to the document I obtained because the document is so obvious. And having read the document by Brother Mom Nai, I can really refresh myself to recall the accounts of what happened and of our activities, because the political lines and what we had been trained by Superior Son Sen contains in the book. So the document itself reflects our actual work. And this morning, Brother said that the document contains your writing entirely, but in another page, there was some writing of Nats in page 0077978, and also my writing could be found in that piece of document. And later on, when I saw your writing, or Hoisrai, or Pon, or Ho, and I do accept that the document belongs to S21. So I think when you stated that the writing is similar to your writing, it's not really a good account. Please don't be afraid you die. Just tell the truth. Because if you say something like with your speculation, it is not good. So as me, you see, I am responsible for everything, all the crimes committed at SV21. Now we before the history. You cannot really use a basket to cover the dead elephant. So that's it. Don't even attempt to do that. And I think since I am ready to accept or be accountable for all the crimes I have committed, I would want you to do the same. And of course, when it comes to the humanitarian spirit, we have to be reconstructed again regarding this matter, because more than 1.1 million people died. So of course those people have been perished in the hands of the CPK. And who were in the CPK? I was part of the CPK, and you yourself have not admitted that you were part of the CPK. So here emotionally we have to be accountable for the crimes committed, and we have no rights actually to say that the political line is wrong. Actually, we had to follow the political line, and if we compare what would have been the policy of the CPK back then and compare with the humanitarian aspect, then we can see it's completely different. And I do admit that your memory is weaker than that of mine. Now, when we come to Chao Seng, I asked Ho to take him to work with you at the interrogation place. And I'm very sure, and I would like to give you an example, and I remember that one day I missed Chao Seng, and I paid him a visit, and he talked about Norodom Sihanouk, who could speak French, but he could speak French less than the king of Arabia Saudi, because Chao Seng talked about this. And then you, brother, you talk and criticize Chao Seng about this. I just recall this event to refresh your memory that Chao Seng was left to be with you, although I got the order from the upper echelon to have him smashed. So, when it comes to Professor Ping, We both admit that he was our teacher. I don't want to elaborate further that why I liked the professor, but I'm here to talk right before the civil parties, the daughter of my teacher. I already said once, but here we are now trying to tell the truth of what happened to him, for example, the victim, because now the world and like the Cambodian people are looking forward to hearing the truth. So I think it is the best opportunity for us to put together the piece and puzzle of this matter. So please be reminded that the civil parties are here with us and they want to know where our professor died, and they just want to even know where he died and where his ashes would have been buried. So I think it is good that we should help them to locate that place. So I think communism should not be in our spirit of blocking our views to talk the truth. So this court is not tolerating us anyway, although the Communist Party would be in favorable of our stand back then. But please be ready to tell the truth, and that's all my submission. The President, I note the lawyer is on her feet. You take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to take the speech of the accused now to ask the chamber to grant the witness again the opportunity to not to respond, but to take the words of the accused and maybe the civil parties who are here, and the daughter and the wife of Mr. Pungton. Maybe the witness has changed a little bit and opened his mind and would like to elaborate further on the fate of Mr. Pungton than he did before, and this is a unique opportunity to use here before this court, and therefore I ask the chamber to give the witness again this floor if he would like to elaborate on this more. Thank you very much.
The President, Mr. Momnai, having observed, after having observed the remarks and the statements by the accused just now, do you think you would like to add something else regarding the general facts at S21 which you probably have missed to put through the course of your testimony, especially concerning the Professor Pung Ton? And during these sessions, we seem to focus more on this individual person, the Professor Pung Ton. So if you would like to add some more, the floor is yours. Momnai, Mr. President, I would like to make the following comments. I would like to express my regretfulness to the family of Professor Pung Ton So far as I know, the family of Phung Ton, his wife is the goddaughter of my grandfather Toi. The President, we know the civil party law, the counsel for the witness is on his feet. Mr. Kong Som-on, could you please allow the witness to have a break and recollect himself? The President, the chamber is now of course on hold because we are now waiting to see if Mr. Mom Nai can continue. Of course he is very emotional now, but we would like to give him some moments to recollect himself. Mom Nai, could the President allow me to continue, please? I have been very remorseful. That's one point. And another, I am very remorseful because even my brothers or relatives died. I mean, my brothers suffered during the regime, and my wife, my children also had the same experience. They died. I think it was a chaotic situation, and we have nothing other than being very regretful, and we could not do anything else. And the general population of Cambodia, at least many of them have been perished during the regime, and everyone is very regretful. And I think if we talk in the eyes of our religion, it is more about our karma. That's it. And I am now trying to relieve myself by considering the karma and the religious belief, and of course I have been very regretful. And through this court, I think the family of Professor Phung Ton is informed of my impression. The President, so far as I have observed during the sessions, the question is that whether you, Mr. Mom Nai, have more information to add to the court, especially regarding Mr. Phung Ton, or maybe you are knowledgeable of what happened to him at S21. I mean, something you know more than what you have already told the court during the sessions, because we would like to know whether you were not able to express it expressly in the court during the time when you were being asked, and that at this moment, after having heard the statements from the accused, and that you are ready to express further concerning this individual, or do you think that you have nothing more than that? Mom Nai, Mr. President. I think in my previous conclusion, I hope that I had done my best already to express my understanding concerning the effort to find justice for the family. But I think if I am asked to bring further information, I think it is impossible because it's more like shooting something in a dark night. The President, thank you, Mr. Mom Nai, once again, and we really grateful to your time to spend in giving your testimony to the chamber. The chamber is aware very well that it is very difficult for you to give such testimony because you had to respond to several questions by the chamber and by the parties. And also, since the events happened more than 30 years ago, it is really difficult to recollect it. And our memory, human being memory, is limited because sometimes even something happened a few hours ago and that we have to refresh that event. It can be seen as it's difficult already, and now you are 70 years old, so when people are aging, their memory normally tend to be weaker. So we appreciate your time for coming here to give the testimony to the court. The session to hear your testimony comes to an end already. You can now go home, and the court officer is directed to make sure that Mr. Mom Nai is taken to his residence and make sure that he can go back home safe and sound. And please bring witness Hum Hoi into the courtroom.
Veuillez amener le témoin suivant. Il s'agit de Monsieur Him Hoi.
The President, we note that the co-prosecutor is on his feet. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just thought I'd take this opportunity, whilst the witnesses are in transition, just to make a brief statement. What perhaps might leave the public a little bit confused about the procedure of the ECCC. The defence stated earlier that it's the prosecution in these proceedings that calls witnesses. As your honours are aware, but maybe the public may not be, the prosecution doesn't call witnesses, but it's the trial chamber that calls witnesses. And the trial chamber only calls witnesses under Rule 80 bis if it considers that their appearance would be for the good administration of justice. This is not the common law system. This is based on the civil law. And I think my friend well understands that it's the trial chamber's decision as whether who is to be called. I just think for the general public it's important for them to understand that. Obviously we understand that in the courtroom, but they may not.
យើងនៅក្នុងសារសនាការយើងយល់ទាំងអស់គ្នាប៉ុន្តែសាធារណជនមិនទាន់ជ្រាបបញ្ហានោះទេអរគុណដល់ការកត់សម្គាល់របស់លោកតំណាង
President, thank you very much for the observation of the International Co-Prosecutor. We know that Mr. Francois is on his feet. You take the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Ho, thank you, Mr. President, to provide further information because the Office of the Co-Prosecutor wishes to provide information to the public. Mr. Prosecutor, you should add that the chamber calls the witnesses, summons the witnesses upon proposal of each of the parties. You prepared a list of witnesses that you submitted to the chamber. The defense prepared a list of witnesses that is submitted to the chamber. It is correct to say that on the basis of the proposals made by each party, it is the chamber that summons the witness. But you are the one who proposed the prosecution witness list, in particular that witness who has just appeared. That is to provide an answer. Mr. President, since we are between two witnesses, I would like to express my continued concern by the information that the witnesses that will come hereafter, with the information that these witnesses will be provided. I think I'd like to raise the problem of self-incrimination. Not so much that is self-incrimination as joint criminal enterprise. And it seems to me that it is really difficult when witnesses are not informed of such a situation. So the chamber will determine this matter as it pleases, but the defense would like to assume its responsibilities and submit that witnesses should be warned. And what my colleague, the national prosecutor, said this morning should be corrected. It is not correct to say that the facts are prescribed as such. It is not true. You cannot allow doubt to continue on matters such as this, and you cannot say two things at the same time.
The President, the chamber is in fact having this time to hear the testimony of a witness, not for the parties to confront each other. In a case where a party wishes to have its clear observation or request regarding a particular witness, that party shall submit beforehand their submissions to the chamber so that the chamber will decide how to proceed regarding the Rule 28 so that we will be able to consider and the proceedings that needs to be taken to hear the testimony of a witness. We have noticed that each counsel wants to benefit himself or herself. And if you want clear and true information from a witness, there is no need to raise the same issue again and again on self-incrimination. This is contradictory. If the witness reserves his right to remain silent by fear of being self-incrimination, then it is even difficult for us to get to the bottom of the truth. So now the witness has not yet even appeared in the chamber. So a party which concerns this matter can make the submission to the chamber. But so far, none of the parties make any submission to the chamber. And that shall be done beforehand, not during the proceedings, and before the audience, the public audience, to hear all these technical issues of the proceedings. And the chamber want to know whether the co-prosecutors and the defense counsel still wish to proceed again regarding this matter, or you just want to exploit the proceeding for your own gain? Can you clearly state it?
Your Honour, the very thing that you're concerned about is the same concern of the co-prosecutors, namely that if these issues are to be raised or needed to be raised, they should be raised under the Rule 28.8, which means that it should be raised in camera. It was inappropriate for the Defence Counsel to raise it for the third time this week, and I would just submit that if it's to be done, it should be done in camera.
The President, the Defense Counsel, do you have anything else to add right now? Because I don't want to be interrupted again. We do not only listen to this one witness, we have more witnesses to come.
Mr. President, I said what I had to say. I noted that the national prosecutor expressed himself publicly this morning, and I answered also publicly. But if the chamber wishes, well, the defense is willing to participate in an in-camera debate because this is a serious issue that depends on the prosecutor's position. Do you, yes or no, maintain GCE? JCE, correct interpreter, Joint Criminal Enterprise.
Again, Your Honours, the defence are confusing and misleading. JCE has got nothing to do whatsoever with the right to self-incrimination. And obviously we maintain our position.
The President, the chamber will adjourn 20 minutes until 5 to 3, when it will resume. And we will hear the testimony of KW09. Court officer, do not bring the witness in yet. You have to wait for my instruction.
The President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. We are now going to hear the testimony of witness KW09 Hum Hui. Before the witness is called into the courtroom, the chamber would like to inform to the parties and the public that regarding the issues discussed, and that the guarantee by the National Co-Prosecutor this morning is not appropriate because his assurance has not been done in the correct circumstance, and that there has not been any request by the witness or by the chamber to the co-prosecutor to provide any assurance to the witness who was about to give testimony yet. And regarding the response by the defense counsel regarding the comments made by the co-prosecutor, the national co-prosecutor is not considered as appropriate either, because the International Defense Council tends to repeat the application of the joint criminal enterprise before we heard the testimony of that witness. So the chamber would like to remind the parties that this matter shall not be raised again during the course of the testimony of this next witness. The third point regarding the testimony of Mr. Mom Nai, the chamber would like to inform the public that this witness has been called by the chamber to give his testimony, so he is not the witness of any particular party to the proceedings other than the witness called by the chamber. President, the court official is now directed to bring witness Hum Hoi into the courtroom. The President, Mr. Witness, what is your name? Response. I am Hum Hoi. The President, Him Hoi or Hum Hoi? The President, could you please be reminded that please wait until you see the red light before you can speak, otherwise your message could not be communicated. Is your name Hum Hoi or Him Hoi? Response. I'm Him Hoi.
The
President, do you have an alias name? Response. Before I used the name correction, Yu Hoi. The President, Yu Hoi, is that correct? Response. That's correct. The President, how old are you? Response. I am 54 years old. President, where do you live now and what do you do for a living? Response. I live in Lung San, Prechsdai, Koh Thom. I am a farmer. The President, according to the report of the court that you have no connection or relationship in blood to the accused, and that you have taken an oath before the Jenny already, is that correct? Response. That's correct. President, in the proceedings in which we're going to hear your testimony, the testimony before the extraordinary chambers in the court of Cambodia, Mr. Humhui, you shall speak only the truth about what you witnessed, what you heard, and what you saw and know. And you can reject some questions, or you can remain silent, and you are entitled with the right of self-incrimination. So if you feel that any responses of yours resulted in your self-incrimination, then you are entitled to remain silent. Do you understand this right? Response: I do, Mr. President. The President, in Rule 28.9, it states that if an issue of self-incrimination arises in the course of the proceedings, then the witness can request for a legal assistance. The question here is, do you think you need legal assistance to consult before you can provide your testimony, because you are afraid that your testimony can self-incriminate you? A response: could Your Honor please repeat it? The President, according to the rule, if an issue of self-incrimination arises, I mean, if your testimony responses are self-incriminating yourself, then you can request for a lawyer to be of your assistant. So the question here is that whether you would want to have a legal counsel, or have you had one already before you can give your testimony here? Response: I don't have any legal counsel for me at the moment yet. The President, do you want to have a lawyer to provide you legal assistance during the course of your testimony, in which the parties or the chamber are putting questions to you during today and tomorrow? Response: I would like to consult my legal counsel before I can give testimony. The President, so you now have not got the legal counsel, and that you would like the chamber to find a lawyer for you during the course of your testimony. Is that correct? Response: yes, that is. The President, I have received information from our judges. So far, you have already consulted a lawyer. When you learn that the chamber has called you to give testimony, Is that correct? Have you consulted with the lawyer, and what is your lawyer's name, and when did you meet the lawyer? Response: I met with the lawyer, Mr. Kung Som On. I met him very briefly. The President, so it is fair to say that you already met lawyer Kung Som On, and did you actually ask him to assist you during the course of your testimony before the chamber? Response: I cannot talk now. The President, what is your request then? Respond: I would like to make sure I can contact him first. The President, the schedule of our today's session is of course planned, and that we are going to hear the testimony of witness Hum Hoi. However, Hum Hoi stated that he would like a lawyer to assist him, and that he met him very briefly, that he had not had an opportunity to discuss this matter in detail, and he made a humble request that he would need to meet this lawyer first before he could be able, or he could give his testimony. So the chamber cannot proceed with the proceedings as scheduled, and that we are adjourning now. The hearing is resumed tomorrow at 9 a.m. The court official is directed to coordinate with this witness so that he can contact his lawyer, whose name he mentioned earlier, and so that he can discuss with the lawyer to be prepared, and that he is ready tomorrow for the testimony. The security personnel are directed to take the accused back to the detention facility and return him to the courtroom by 9 a.m. The court is adjourned.
L'audience est levée.